Tell me about your first love.
Probably Eleonora Joensuu, this Finnish girl. I think I probably met her on like Yahoo Personals or like Love Connection or something like that. I was an early adopter to the online game. Yeah, she went to UBC. Her dad was a Lutheran minister. Yeah, and that was probably the first person I loved. I didn't really, in high school, I guess I was a bit of a late bloomer, if you will, and I was more focused on sports and hanging out with the boys and drinking beer and that sort of stuff than girls. So yeah, it was probably university. I guess I probably loved her, maybe. I don't know. I think I didn't really know what love was then when you're 18 or 19, so.
What is love?
What is love? Ooh, tough questions here. My wife, I love her. I knew right away. Can't remember. I think I said I love her first. What is love? Love is wanting to spend the rest of your life with that person. Love is accepting someone for all their faults, accepting them for who they are, anything they've, whether it's the past, the present. I think people these days are too. I have a friend and she got married and she was married for like 6 months and then they got divorced. And I feel like people treat life, relationships, marriage, almost like a pair of sneakers. It's, oh, I don't like the fit. I don't like how they look and I'm just going to return them. Or, in this disposable landscape we live in. So I think love is, if you really do love someone, you know that you can, not sound cliche, but I think kind of love conquers all, and you know that if there's problems down the road or whatever it might be, that you're gonna fight for it. Or it can also be that you'd do anything for that person. Like I love my buddies, and I know if anyone called me and said, "Hey, I need you to come do this or come do that," and I'd go and do that for them.
What is your biggest battle right now?
I feel like I'm always battling someone or something. I guess my biggest battle is my wife potentially might have to move across the country for school, for work. So I guess trying to figure that out. I've never left really Vancouver. My parents still live in the same house. I lived in Kits and then now I'm living in our place together. So I've lived in a total of 3 different places and she's lived all over the world. So yeah, I think probably my biggest battle is trying to figure out how that's gonna work, how that's gonna feel, how that's gonna transcribe and go down. I think about it all the time. We're gonna know in a couple weeks, so.
Are you afraid of change?
I probably would say no originally, but definitely I think I would. My parents live in the same house. I still see the same people. I go on Dunbar Street and people recognize me when I go to Shoppers Drug Mart or to Stong's and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar. I haven't changed my gym. I thought about it, but I'm just like, everybody knows me there. Pretty gregarious person, and a lot of people know me, and I know a lot of people in Vancouver. So yeah, I probably would say I am quite averse to change. I'm just thinking about like at work and that sort of stuff. Like when I'm in the kitchen, I like things done this way, and that's my way, and then that's the only way. Whereas I know there's obviously 100 ways kind of to do things. So yeah, I probably would say I'm quite adverse to change. Yeah.
What is your favorite trait in yourself?
I can be friends with anyone and super outgoing. If I'm being contrarian, I'd probably say that I'm brutally honest. If I see someone and they're doing something stupid, I'm like, oh, that's stupid. Or if someone's wearing a stupid outfit, I'll tell them that they're wearing a stupid outfit. Or it kind of can go both ways. I had a friend who told me it was kind of like cilantro. And cilantro, apparently 50% of the people, they're like, you either love it or it tastes like soap. And so my wife actually, when I first started dating, she had in her phone Jojo Cilantro. And I think that kind of hits me on the head in the sense that you either love me or you hate me. And that does tie into me speaking what's on my mind, telling you what I think, even if you don't ask for my opinion. I think it's kind of a good way to weed out the people in your life who really are. Like, funny enough, the person who told me that I was like cilantro, I'm no longer friends with them. I think a lot of times with my personality, with who I am, telling it like it is, I think you can really find out if people are, can handle you for the long run. And the people that can, those are the kinds of people that I want in my life. And the people that might be like, oh man, this this guy's a lot to handle. And maybe, you know, they're not really my friend, or they're not really whatever. So I think it's been a good kind of litmus test almost. And it's you know, I'm sure that's probably what helped me get my wife, because I was like, this is who I am. If you can handle this, then you're a keeper.
What's your biggest insecurity?
I tell my wife always says, I wish I had your confidence. I think anything that I do, I always go into that thinking I'm gonna win. I always go into that thinking I'm the best. If it's a golf tournament, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna beat this guy. If it's a rugby game when I used to play, I think I'm the best player in the field. I'm gonna win this game. Whatever it might be, I think I'm always thinking that I'm the best. No one's better than me. I don't think it's cocky. I think it's, for me, that's kind of what's got me through. So what's my biggest insecurity? I don't know. I think I am also can be vain sometimes. I think probably like, oh, like I got these love handles I can't get rid of, or I love food too much. So I'm, you know, I love alcohol and wine and rum and stuff like that. I don't know. So I'm like, you know, I do feel like I'm fat, and I look in the mirror. I know, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, you're so fat. And I know I'm probably fitter than, you know, whoever, but yeah, probably comparing myself to others. I got a good friend of mine who's always telling me how fit and strong he is and blah, 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 and this and that. So I think I'm the best. Like, if I don't, like, I don't know, like, why wouldn't you think that way, right?
Most women are not brought up in a society where that is a normal thing.
It is, it's true. And knowing enough people, knowing my mom, my sister, my wife, I think everyone does have insecurities, you know, and I think definitely for women, it's a lot harder. You know, women are told how you should look, how you should act, how much weight you should have, what color your hair should be, you shouldn't do this. Yeah, so it's definitely a lot harder being a woman in this life than it is a man, right? You can still be a overweight, not attractive man, and it's like, whatever, you know, you can lose weight, you can do this, and you know, you probably have a job that unfortunately pays more than a woman. So yeah, I never kind of had that in Teen magazine and Vogue magazine be like, this is what you should look like. And even still now, Instagram and all this stuff, and women have all these filters, and women think this is what I'm supposed to look like, where it's like 99% of the world's population does not look like what's on Instagram or Twitter or this and that or TikTok and all this sort of shit. So yeah, no, I mean, I guess I think I don't know where I got it from, probably my dad, but I mean, I think it's also easier being a male. Yeah, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but anyways.
And were you ever bullied?
Yeah, when I was in grade 4, I was Mr. Popular. I had, you know, I had a bunch of friends and guys that I thought were my friends, and we were on the playground, and there was an incident. These kids, you know, said that I thought were all my buddies. Said that I did something that I didn't. Well, even to this day, it was grade 4, it was a long time ago. So I think that I didn't. Anyways, from about grade 4, probably until I was in grade 12, I was called gay, I was called a queer. Guys that I thought were my good friends, yeah, kind of turned against me. And yeah, eventually got to high school. Still kind of, you know, got bullied, and eventually, you know, in the older kids, the grade 12s, I would, you know, kind of fueled off that. And unfortunately, it kind of, I don't know if it shaped me who I am, but I kind of turned into the class clown, you know, make jokes and speak out and be the class clown in school, because I felt like that was how people now would like me and be friends with me. Yeah, I still remember in it was grade 8 yearbook, you know, a kid wrote, "If what you did to Spencer was true, stay the fuck away from me." Yeah, and that turned me into an angry kid. It probably made me the good rugby player that I was, but yeah, it was pretty shitty. And then in turn, I then turned into the bully. And when I got a growth spurt, and when I was about grade 10, I got big, and then I turned into the bully, and I used to beat kids up and steal their lunch. And eventually one kid told me, you know, you don't have to steal my lunch, I'll give it to you. Yeah, I was a fucking asshole, because of the way that kind of I got treated. And yeah, it was tough. It was shitty. I remember going home in elementary school and crying to my mom and dad, and, you know, saying I got no friends. And yeah, it was pretty tough. To be honest, it's probably shaped kind of who I am, because it's made me be the class clown. It's made me be outgoing. It's made me, it even made me at some point when I was younger think like, hey, is this all the stuff these guys are saying is true? Am I gay? So yeah, it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
For me, I'm kind of a big believer in, I'm not religious, I don't know, maybe you could say spiritual, but I think everything we do puts us on a path to wherever we're going to be. So I do personally think that, I know you see these movies and someone goes back in time, if they go left instead of going right, it might change, it's going to change the outcome. So, I don't think I wouldn't want to change it, because I think where I've ended up, I'm happy. I have the love of my life. I'm glad that I found her. If I had to go back and give some advice, I would probably tell my younger self, there's something you want, there's somebody that you like or dislike or whatever, I would say, go and do it. In my profession, fortunately, I see a lot of death all the time. We see it, whether it's a young child, whether it's an old person. So I think, kind of going back, and I would maybe say, I don't think I have any regrets. I know that's one of your questions sometimes. But I would just say, do what you want to do. But I think also at the same time, maybe don't close any doors. I thought before about going to law school, but my grades from university probably weren't good enough, because I was more interested in having fun than probably, going to school and that sort of stuff. But, there's a few things that I thought like, oh, I wish I did that, or I wish I did that. So I think if I could tell my younger self, number one, kind of don't worry, everything will work itself out. I know kids, these days kind of worry, what's going to happen, or think their life's over because some shitty thing happens. And I just say, do the things you want to do.
What's your deepest emotional fear?
Deepest emotional fear, I think, is probably losing my dad. It's, he's Dad's one of my best friends, and I know he's 85, just turned 85 yesterday, and I know eventually he will die. I know that's gonna be a tough day. He's had cancer twice, and I think even though I see death all the time, and I see people often at their worst, it definitely is different when it's you. And I've had a great life with my dad. He came to all my soccer games. He's I don't think he's ever missed one of my rugby games. And but yeah, like I know the day is gonna come. It's probably gonna come sooner than later. And yeah, I know that's gonna be a tough day. It's gonna be a real tough day. Yeah, I know it's, my dad's been in my life for 40 years, and, he's been the person I go to when I need advice, or to just hang out with and watch sports or whatever. So yeah, that's gonna be a tough time.
So your work, you said that you deal with a lot of death,
Yeah.
and a lot of really hard situations. How do you recenter yourself after those situations?
To be brutally honest, I think for me, having my wife, so I'm a firefighter. I don't know if that was prefaced at the start. And my wife is about a month away from being a doctor. When I met her, she was a dietitian. She worked with people with pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer, unfortunately, has like a 7% survival rate. So she's seen a lot of death. She lived in Africa for 2.5 years. She's unfortunately seen a lot of death, a lot of really traumatic, really tough situations. So for me, being able to come home and talk to her about that, for me has been really, really good. Because to be honest, the stuff we see, if your wife was a teacher, or your wife worked at a grocery, whatever your wife did, and you started talking about some of this stuff, and some of the stuff I get into with my wife I get pretty detailed. And I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to handle that, or say, oh, I don't want to hear that, or now maybe they have an image of what that what that looks like or what that felt like. So I think for my, being able to be with my wife that knows kind of what I'm going through, who's dealt with death, who's seen death, who's been around that. For me, that's, when I do have a shitty call, and I've had lots, and I know for the rest of my career, I'm gonna have really shitty ones as well. And I've been able to come home and talk to her and kind of debrief. I think that's been really important for me, because I know a lot of guys, unfortunately, a lot of guys turn to drugs, turn to alcohol. There's a lot of, in the firefighting, police, military, there's a lot of people that get PTSD and a lot of people that don't deal with it, and they try to self-medicate. So I also know that, I am sensitive. I do view myself as a very sensitive person, and when I do go to a call, I try not to be able to identify with that person as much as possible. So if I'm doing CPR, I try not to look at that person's face, because I'll be honest, I don't need to be going to bed and seeing that person's face in my dreams, nightmares, whatever. So I just try to go there. I know that we're coming there to try and provide care and do as much care as we can. And it's also probably easier than for nurses or what my wife had to deal with, in that at the end of our call, we pack up and we leave. And I don't have to deal with the aftermath or anything like that. We just go. And I do think that in speaking to other guys and trying to figure out how you can compartmentalize and not try to take it personally. And, we might go back to the hall and resume what we're doing. And then I'll deal with it later if I feel the need to. So, yeah.